Welcome to the Deep Dive. We unpack sources to find, well, surprising insights and takeaways you can actually use. Today we're getting into Brené Brown's Daring Greatly. It's a huge #1 New York Times bestseller, and it's really shifted things for a lot of people around courage and connection. You know, for so many of us, that word vulnerability, it kind of brings up images of, I don't know, weakness.
Or maybe just awkward oversharing.
Really,
Right.
exactly. But Brown's research, it just completely flips that idea. We tend to think strength means being invulnerable.
Right. But her whole argument, and it's powerful, tied to that Theodore Roosevelt quote, "the man in the arena." Her point is vulnerability isn't weakness at all. She calls it our most accurate measure of courage.
Courage.
Yeah. And it's essential, absolutely critical for building real connections in all parts of life. We should dig into why that feels so backwards, but is actually so important for you.
Okay, let's do that. So if it's not weakness, what is it then, according to Brown?
Well, she's very specific. She defines it as, let me get this right, uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure.
Uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure. Okay.
Yeah. And the paradox she points out is fascinating. It's like, yes, putting yourself out there is risky, obviously. But the alternative, standing back, staying quiet, always wondering what if. Brown argues that's actually more painful long term.
Because of regret.
Regret, disconnection. Yeah. Think about it,
Yeah.
That feeling of not really showing up in your own life, that hurts.
That makes a lot of sense, that long-term versus short-term discomfort. But still, it feels so hard. Why do we resist it so much? What's the block?
Yeah. That brings us to the big one, shame.
Right.
Brown defines shame as it's that intensely painful feeling
Right.
of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. It's not just I did something bad. It's
I am bad.
exactly that deep gut level feeling. And she argues it thrives in our culture, this never enough pressure cooker.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? We build walls. Emotional armor, she calls it.
Like perfectionism.
Perfectionism, yeah, or maybe numbing behaviors, trying to check out or constantly trying to please everyone.
Trying to control how people see us.
Totally. But the irony is that armor, it keeps out the bad stuff, maybe, but it also keeps out the good stuff. It blocks the very connection we're actually craving.
Mm-hmm.
And she makes a key distinction. True vulnerability isn't just spilling your guts to anyone. That's different. It's selective. It's built on trust you've earned with people.
Okay, so it's not just about personal feelings. This sounds like it touches everything. Our jobs, our family.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Think about leadership. A leader who dares greatly isn't afraid to say, I don't know, or I messed up, or I need help.
That sounds risky for a leader.
It feels risky, but Brown argues it builds incredible trust and resilience in a team. Way more than a leader who pretends to be perfect. It lets everyone be more real.
Creates psychological safety.
Exactly. And same goes for relationships, right? Fostering real intimacy. And parenting, modeling for our kids that it's okay to be imperfect, to struggle.
Okay, so this sounds transformative, but how do we actually do it? If you're listening and feeling kind of stuck behind that armor, what's a first step?
Well, she's clear it's a practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one-time fix. It's ongoing.
Like building a muscle.
Kind of, yeah. One key thing is building what she calls shame resilience.
Shame resilience.
Now, it starts with recognizing your triggers. Like, what situations or thoughts kick off that I am bad spiral for you?
Noticing it.
Noticing it, yeah. Then, being critical about the messages feeding the shame, where they're coming from. And then, crucially, reaching out, sharing it with someone you trust.
Speaking shame, she calls it.
Yeah, speaking shame,
Mm-hmm.
it really does diffuse its power. And alongside that, consciously working to shed that armor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important too, letting yourself feel joy.
Oh. How does joy fit in?
She has this powerful line, don't squander joy. It means allowing yourself to feel happiness, even in ordinary moments, even when things aren't perfect. That's part of being wholehearted. Don't wait for everything to be right to feel good.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, our deep dive really shows that daring greatly isn't about being fearless at all.
Not at all. It's about having the courage despite the fear.
Stepping into the arena, like Roosevelt said, embracing the uncertainty, the risk, the emotional exposure.
Right. And underlying all of it is Brown's core message about your worthiness.
Yeah.
It's just fundamental. Her message is basically, you are worthy of love, belonging, and living fully just as you are, right now, not when you're perfect.
A powerful reminder. So for you listening, what does this all mean?
Maybe just consider this. Where could you choose courage over comfort, even in a small way, today? How might you lean into a little uncertainty?
To invite more genuine connection.
Exactly, just something to think about. How might that one small act of daring change things for you? You know that feeling, that deep, deep human need to belong, to really connect with people.
Oh, absolutely. It's primal.
Right. But then there's this other thing, this fear almost of letting people really see us. It's like we want connection, but we're terrified of the exposure that comes with it.
It's a classic paradox. Wanting in, but holding back.
Exactly. So today, in the deep dive, we're going to really unpack that. We're looking at vulnerability, specifically through the lens of Brené Brown's research, especially daring greatly.
Such important work.
It really is. And what's fascinating in the sources we looked at is how she completely flips the script on vulnerability. It's not a flaw, not weakness.
No, not at all. She argues it's the core of courage itself.
Which brings us to that whole arena idea.
Ah, yeah, the Theodore Roosevelt quote she uses. It's brilliant. It's not about being a spectator in your own life.
Right.
Daring greatly means choosing, actively choosing to step into that arena. Life's uncertainties, the risks, all of it.
Even when it's messy and uncomfortable.
Especially then. It's about being present, authentic, fully invested, even if you might fail or get criticized. That's where real living happens, apparently.
Okay, so let's get specific. Vulnerability. It feels like weakness to most of us, right? Like opening a door for someone to hurt you.
That's the biggest myth she tackles. Fundamentally, vulnerability is just the willingness to show up and be seen when you can't control the outcome.
Show up even when you don't know what will happen.
Exactly. It involves emotional exposure, risk, uncertainty, all those things we usually try to avoid. But she says, look, this isn't a defect. It's actually our best measure of strength.
Our measure of strength. That's a big reframe.
It is. Think about it, facing something uncertain and stepping forward anyway. That takes guts. That's courage in action.
Okay, so if vulnerability is actually courage, what stops us? Why do we pull back so often?
Well, the primary driver she identifies is shame.
Shame.
And it's really important to get the difference here between shame and guilt. Guilt is, I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad.
Ah, that's a critical distinction.
Huge. Guilt can be productive. It can lead to change. But shame just tells you you're fundamentally flawed, unworthy. It loves secrecy.
And it stops you from entering the arena.
Totally paralyzes you.
Ah.
And the antidote, the way to diffuse shame's power, empathy.
Just connecting with someone's feeling without judging it.
Precisely. That simple act of, I get it, and you're not alone, it's incredibly powerful against shame.
So, okay, we understand vulnerability isn't weakness, and shame holds us back. How do we actually put this into practice? How does this look in real life? Relationships, work?
Yeah, this is where it gets really practical. It leads to what she calls wholehearted living.
Wholehearted living.
Which is all about courage, compassion, and connection. Living authentically, embracing your imperfections, and this ties into perfectionism.
Oh, yeah. The thing we're all chasing.
Right. But Brown calls it a 20-ton shield. We think it protects us, makes us look good.
But it just weighs us down.
Exactly. And it prevents us from being truly seen. It actually fuels that shame we were just talking about. It's a barrier, a huge one, to connection.
I think we all carry that shield sometimes, don't we? That I've got it all together mask. So what happens when we start, putting the shield down? How does that affect our connections?
Well, think about relationships. Real intimacy. It's basically impossible without vulnerability. Sharing your actual fears, your hopes, your messy thoughts.
That's where trust gets built, right? Little by little.
One vulnerable moment at a time. Absolutely. And it's similar at work, particularly with leadership.
How so?
When a leader can admit a mistake, say, oops, I messed that up, or I don't have the answer, they aren't seen as weak.
No. What happens?
They actually build psychological safety. That feeling where people on the team know it's okay to speak up, to share a risky idea, to admit they need help.
Ah, so it creates space for others to be vulnerable to.
Exactly. And that's where the real innovation and creativity come from, not from pretending everyone's perfect.
Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
But it sounds hard. Like it's not just flipping a switch. How can you, the listener, actually start practicing this? Small steps.
Definitely small steps. Vulnerability isn't about some huge dramatic confession. It's a skill you build.
Like a muscle.
Kind of, yeah. Through consistent small acts of courage. Maybe it's sharing a struggle with one trusted friend, or asking for help when you're feeling swamped.
Or just admitting you made a small mistake at work.
Yes, in a relatively safe environment. But crucially, and this is important, healthy vulnerability needs boundaries. It requires discernment.
So it's not just oversharing with everyone.
No, definitely not. It's about sharing appropriately with people who've earned the right to hear your story. It's wise courage, not just spilling everything.
Got it. So we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Daring greatly really means choosing courage, stepping into that arena even when it's uncomfortable. Prioritizing real connection over just protecting ourselves.
And understanding it's a practice, right? Not a destination you just arrive at. It's ongoing.
A continuous evolving thing.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, when you consistently show up like that authentically, willing to risk emotional exposure, engage with the uncertainty, something powerful happens. Yeah. You tap into deeper creativity, a real sense of meaning, and that belonging we all crave. It turns out the walls we built to keep out pain also keep out joy.
So the final thought for everyone listening might be, now, what could you gain if you dared to take down just one small brick from that wall today?
Exactly. What might open up?
Welcome, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into some really groundbreaking work by Brené Brown.
Yes, focusing on her book Daring Greatly, and also an episode from her Dare to Lead podcast.
That's the one, Fearing Less, with Dr. Pippa Grange. Really interesting stuff.
Definitely.
And our mission today really is to unpack this idea of vulnerability, how it's, so often seen as weakness.
Mm-hmm.
But Brown argues it's actually, well, the core measure of courage.
Exactly. And the birthplace of things we all want, right? Like love, belonging, joy, even creativity.
Yeah, it's foundational.
And we'll also get into how that that never enough culture we live in kind of feeds shame and comparison.
Right, and makes us build this armor.
This armor, yeah, that we think protects us from fear, but actually it just gets in the way of real connection and innovation too.
It's a real paradox, isn't it? The things we do to feel safe end up kind of boxing us in.
Precisely. It keeps us from truly living sometimes.
Okay, so get ready. We're hoping to discover how maybe consciously embracing discomfort could really change things.
How you live, how you love, parent, lead, all of it.
It's a big shift in thinking. Okay, so let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So we start with this idea. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. But that just feels wrong initially, doesn't it?
It really does, because we're taught the opposite. But what Brown means by vulnerability isn't spilling your guts,
Right.
She defines it as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure.
Okay. Uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure.
Think about it. Anytime you try something new or ask for help, have a tough conversation.
You're being vulnerable.
You are. You're stepping into that uncertainty. It takes courage precisely because you might fail or be judged or just feel really uncomfortable.
So it's the willingness to show up even when you can't control the outcome.
That's it, exactly. Being seen when it's risky.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. It's not weakness. It's bravery in the face of, reality.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's so crucial, why do we fight it so hard? That's where the armor comes in.
Absolutely. The armor is, all those strategies we use to shield ourselves. Perfectionism is a big one she talks about.
Oh, yeah.
Or cynicism, maybe needing to control everything. Even just trying to seem cool or unaffected.
So it's not just one thing. It could be blame, too.
Blame, definitely. Anything to avoid feeling exposed or less than. It gives you this sort of temporary shield, but it blocks real connection. She uses this great analogy. It's like wearing a spacesuit to a pool party.
Okay, yeah. You're safe, but
You're totally cut off from the actual experience. You can't swim. You can't connect.
that paints a picture. Safe, but isolated. And that isolation, that fear of not being good enough, that feeds right into the never enough culture Brown describes.
It really does. That feeling of not being smart enough or successful enough or thin enough or whatever. It's everywhere.
How does that play out at work in professional settings?
Well, that never enough pressure often creates what Dr. Pippa Grange in that podcast episode called egoic cultures.
Egoic cultures. What does that mean?
It means environments where leaders, maybe unintentionally, equate being invulnerable with being strong.
So mistakes are hidden. Feedback isn't welcome.
Exactly. It becomes all about proving you're perfect, you have it all figured out, which kills innovation, right? Because innovation requires taking risks, maybe failing.
So if everyone's wearing their armor in one of these egoic cultures, How can anyone actually take those necessary risks?
Hmm.
Grange linked this to shame, didn't she?
She did. She points out that shame at work often comes down to pure perception. The fear of looking stupid or making a mistake in front of others.
Makes sense.
And she has this powerful line. If shame is in the room, you can't take the risk you need to go try something else, to go experiment.
Wow. So shame just shuts it all down. Creativity, engagement, trying new things.
Completely. We play it safe. Often it's safer to do nothing new than risk looking bad.
So the real enemy isn't necessarily the fear itself.
No.
It's the armor we build because of the fear, often fueled by shame. Okay, but taking off the armor isn't easy. What's a practical step?
Well, this is where Brown brings in curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but approaching a scary situation with genuine curiosity like, what's really going on here? Or what can I learn? It can loosen the armor's grip.
Instead of immediately reacting with fear or defensiveness.
Exactly. Staying open, even when things feel uncertain or uncomfortable, it's a powerful tool.
Okay, so wrapping this up. What does this all mean for you, listening? I mean, we've heard that the very things we do to feel emotionally safe,
Like wearing that armor,
can actually keep us disconnected and, well, unfulfilled. It's a really tough paradox.
and it leads to a really important question, doesn't it? When you prioritize that feeling of emotional security over really engaging authentically, what are you missing out on?
What experiences, what connections, what breakthroughs aren't happening maybe in your team or your family because vulnerability isn't okay? Which brings us back to Brené Brown's core message. Dare greatly.
Yeah. Consciously choosing to step into the arena, embracing the uncertainty, the risk, the emotional exposure.
Because the worst feeling, she says, isn't failing in the arena.
No.
It's standing outside your own life, looking in and just wondering what might have happened if you just had the courage to step inside.
And building that courage, that shame resilience, involves a few key things. Recognizing what triggers your shame.
Okay.
Questioning if those triggers are really valid, reaching out to people you trust, and, crucially, speaking your story, sharing your experience.
It's a process.
It absolutely is. But just imagine the connection, the joy, the sense of purpose you could find if you trust that process. It really comes down to choosing to show up.
Even when you can't control the outcome.
Especially then.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into Brené Brown's work, specifically Daring Greatly. We're going to unpack some key ideas she explores around episode 9. Yeah, our goal here is to really get vulnerability and courage. Yeah, maybe challenge that old idea that being uncertain, feeling exposed is somehow weak.
Right, because the argument is actually, it's a sign of strength. Transformative strength, even.
Exactly. So, daring greatly. It's about choosing to be seen, showing up even when you're really apprehensive.
Which is often.
So let's talk about that resistance. Why do we fight it so hard? Especially when we say we want things like connection. Well, first off, there's this big misconception, right? That vulnerability equals weakness, just flat out.
A very common one.
But Brown defines it very precisely. It's uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. That feeling you get, before a tough conversation.
Or sharing a creative idea you're not sure about. That knot in your stomach.
Yes, that's it. And here's the twist. She says it's actually the best way to measure courage, the most accurate measure.
Which is pretty mind-blowing when you first hear it. Yeah, it really reframes things. Brown calls vulnerability the birthplace.
Birthplace. Of what?
Of basically everything we want as humans. Connection, love, belonging, joy, even empathy and courage itself. Wow. So it completely flicks our idea of strength. That whole impenetrable wall thing?
Yeah, the stiff upper lip.
That's actually a barrier. True strength, true power, maybe comes from being open, not from having thick armor.
Okay, that's a powerful reframe. But if it's the birthplace of all this good stuff, why is it so hard? Why do we instinctively pull back?
Well, a huge piece of the puzzle here is understanding the difference Brown draws between shame and guilt. It's critical.
Right, so shame. That's the really painful one.
It is. Shame is that deep, sinking feeling that I am bad, inherently flawed, unworthy of love or belonging. It's incredibly destructive.
Okay, I am bad. Got it. And guilt.
Guilt is different. Guilt is feeling bad about something you did, an action, a mistake. I did something bad.
Ah, I see. So one is about who you are, the other is about what you did.
Precisely. And that difference is everything. Guilt can actually be helpful. You know,
Yeah.
it can motivate you to apologize, make amends, change your behavior.
Since you can address the action.
But shame tells you the problem is you, fundamentally you. So it just shuts you down. It convinces you you're not worthy of connection, so why even try?
That's a heavy burden.
Absolutely. And that connects directly to this idea of worthiness.
Okay.
Worthiness is simply the belief deep down that I am enough, just as I am, imperfect, maybe struggling, but fundamentally worthy of love and belonging.
Not, I'll be enough when.
Exactly. Not conditional. It's inherent. And that belief, that sense of enoughness, is what fuels what Brown calls wholehearted living.
Wholehearted living. Engaging with life from that place of deservingness.
Yeah, not needing constant external validation, not hustling for your worth. You engage because you are worthy.
So, thinking about this for you listening, what does this lead to? It sounds like this vulnerability paradox.
Explain that.
Well, the very thing we're often scared of, feeling uncertain, exposed, is actually the only path to get the things we really crave, like deep connection and joy.
It's a paradox, all right. You have to risk feeling bad to ultimately feel good.
And this ties into perfectionism too, right?
Yeah.
She calls it a 20-ton shield.
Yeah. That heavy shield we carry, thinking it'll protect us from judgment, from shame, from criticism.
But it doesn't really work.
Well, Brown argues it backfires. It keeps us from being truly seen. People see the shield, the perfect facade, but not the real person underneath, so it actually leads to more isolation, not less.
Wow. Okay, so getting past that shield, embracing imperfection, that's key.
It's transformative, and it plays out everywhere. In just living day to day, accepting imperfection brings more joy, more resilience. It fights that scarcity idea that we're never quite enough.
And in relationships.
In loving and relationships, it's the foundation of real connection and trust. But there's a nuance. It's not just like spilling your guts to everyone. It's discerning sharing your story with people who've earned the right to hear it, people you trust.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Trust is key. What about parenting?
Huge implications for parenting. When parents model vulnerability, admitting mistakes, saying sorry, showing it's okay to struggle, it helps raise kids who are more resilient, more empathetic, and feel worthy themselves. It can break cycles of shame.
And leading in the workplace.
Oh, absolutely. In leading, vulnerability looks like admitting you don't have all the answers, asking for help, owning mistakes.
That sounds scary for a leader.
Maybe traditionally. But the research actually shows this kind of leadership creates psychological safety, and that is what fuels innovation, trust, and ultimately better performance. It busts the myth of the leader needing to be infallible.
So it really sounds like daring greatly isn't a one-time thing. It's ongoing.
Definitely. It's a practice, a continuous choice, not a destination you arrive at.
Like building a muscle.
Exactly. It takes ongoing courage, self-compassion when you stumble, setting boundaries. It's about choosing courage over comfort. Again and again, leaning into that discomfort because that's where connection happens.
That's powerful. Thinking bigger picture for a second. What if society, really embraced this? What could change?
Well, you could imagine potentially huge shifts, maybe less stigma around mental health, stronger communities because people feel safer connecting authentically.
More innovative workplaces too.
Yeah.
Based on what you said about leadership.
Right. And maybe raising future generations who are just more resilient, more grounded in their own worth. The ripple effects could be profound.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
maybe the question for you is what really stood out? What part of this reframing of vulnerability resonates or maybe challenges you? And perhaps how might you choose to dare greatly, even in a small way, in your own life this week? Something to think about.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack critical insights from really powerful sources just for you. And today, we're diving into Brené Brown's incredible work, Daring Greatly. For so many of us, vulnerability, it feels like weakness, right? Something you kind of want to hide away, but what if?
Right.
What if that whole idea is just wrong? So our mission today is to pull out the key nuggets from Brown's research, and she spent, over a decade on this?
Yeah, more than 10 years of deep qualitative work, talking to people, hearing their stories.
Exactly. And showing how embracing vulnerability isn't weakness, but actually the key to a more fulfilled life, better relationships, even stronger leadership. And that title, Daring Greatly, it comes from Theodore Roosevelt, right? That famous man in the arena quote.
That's the one. It's her central metaphor, really, about showing up engaging fully, not sitting on the sidelines.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. Most people, you hear vulnerability and they flinch. They see it as a weakness, a crack in the armor. How does Brené Brown start to redefine that for us?
Well, what's so fascinating, she completely flips that script. She argues vulnerability, it's not weakness at all. It's actually, and this is her phrase, our most accurate measure of courage.
Courage, wow.
Yeah, defined by uncertainty, risks, and emotional exposure. Think about it. It's stepping in when you can't control what happens next.
Okay.
But here's the kicker, the really profound part. She found it's also the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, empathy, innovation, and creativity.
So all the good stuff, basically.
Pretty much. So if you try to shut down vulnerability, you're opting out of those essential human experiences. You just can't have one without the other.
That's a huge reframing, a really radical idea.
Yeah.
But okay, embracing it sounds terrifying for a lot of people. There's often this huge barrier, right? And that's shame, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
How does Brown connect shame with, our difficulty being vulnerable?
Shame is central to this.
Mm.
Brown calls it this unspoken epidemic. It's pervasive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rooted deep down in that fear of not being good enough or feeling unworthy of connection.
That little voice saying, I'm not enough.
Exactly, that voice. But here's the crucial insight, the hopeful part. Shame cannot survive empathy. It just can't.
Okay, explain that.
Well, shame thrives in secrecy, in silence, in judgment, in isolation. It makes you feel totally alone, cut off.
Right.
But empathy is about connection. It's about being seen, being heard, someone understanding your experience. And that connection, that resonance, it literally dismantles shame's power. It's the direct antidote.
So if we can foster empathy, we can tackle shame. And if we tackle shame, the door to vulnerability opens a bit wider.
That's the idea. And that leads us to what Brown calls wholehearted living.
Right. Wholehearted living. What does that actually look like? How do vulnerability and overcoming shame lead there?
So wholehearted living, at its core, it stems from this deep internal sense of worthiness, believing you are enough right now.
Not if I achieve this or when I get that.
Exactly. Brown stresses that real worthiness doesn't have prerequisites. It's not something you earn from the outside. It's an internal belief, And it's a powerful counter to what she calls the scarcity culture, that constant feeling of never enough.
We hear that everywhere. Never thin enough, rich enough, successful enough.
Right. And she ties us back to our biology. She emphasizes that human beings are neurobiologically wired for connection. Our brains, our bodies, they need connection to thrive.
It's not just a nice to have, it's fundamental.
It's an irreducible need, she says, like air, food, shelter, and vulnerability. That's the gateway. It's how we build those authentic connections we're wired for.
Okay, so we're wired for connection. Vulnerability is the path, but it still feels so hard. So many of us trying to just shut down the difficult feelings, right? What does Brown say about that tendency to numb vulnerability?
The numbing trap.
Yeah.
She talks a lot about this. And it's a profound mistake, really.
Why? What happened?
Because you can't selectively numb emotions. It's just not how we work. When you try to dull the pain, maybe from disappointment or grief or fear,
Yeah.
you inevitably, without meaning to, you dull our experiences of love, joy, belonging, creativity, and empathy, too. All the good stuff gets muted along with the bad.
Oh. So you end up feeling flat.
Exactly. It creates this cycle of emotional flatness, this kind of disconnection, even when you think you're protecting yourself. You trade feeling the bad stuff for feeling, well, not much at all.
That makes so much sense. And it connects to that paradox she points out, doesn't it? The one about how we see vulnerability in others versus ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
She puts it so perfectly. Vulnerability is the last thing I want to see in me, but the first thing I look for in you.
So true.
We admire it when others are open, authentic, real with us. We lean into that. But showing our own vulnerability, that feels way too risky.
Yeah, terrifying.
But daring to do it, that's where trust is built. In relationships, in teams, even in leadership. It fosters innovation because people feel safe enough to take risks.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway from this deep dive into daring greatly is vulnerability isn't the enemy. It's not weakness.
Not at all. It's courage. The ultimate measure of it, maybe. And it's the path, really the only path, to a truly meaningful, connected life.
It really challenges you to think differently.
It does. And this raises an important question maybe for you listening right now. Think about your own life, your own arena, as Roosevelt and Brown put it. Where might you be standing on the sidelines? Maybe avoiding that emotional exposure, avoiding the risk. What's one small, perhaps, but courageous step you could take today or this week to actually dare greatly in your own arena, whether that's at home or at work. Just something to think about.
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.